I never imagined that a knock on the wrong door would change my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with unease. I could feel it pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the cracked wall, when the relentless sound echoed through the quietness of my home. A single knock, followed by silence. I thought it was a mistake, an intruder at the wrong house when I heard it again. Firm, steady. My heart raced, each pulse echoing in my ears. Who could it be? My mind raced through a whirlwind of possibilities. A neighbor? A lost friend? The wind rattled the windows, casting shadows across the room as I tiptoed to the door. With trembling hands, I reached for the knob. It felt ice cold, alive with an energy I couldn't shake. The minute I opened it, everything shifted. There he stood, a man cloaked in secrets, his dark eyes boring into mine, sharp as ice. "You've been waiting for me," he said, and the ground slipped beneath me. I didn't even know this man. The unsettling energy radiated from him like heat from a fire. "I'm here to tell you about your father." My breath caught. Dad? The man I had lost years ago. A shadow of a memory I thought was buried deep. I felt the world tilt. My stomach twisted, and I swallowed hard against the lump in my throat. Couldn't speak. Confusion swirled around me, every thought colliding with the next. What could he possibly know? I glanced back at the small framed photos on the wall, smiling faces, memories frozen in time, the laughter echoing, the warmth of family meals long gone. But this strange man was crumbling everything I once believed to be true. He stepped closer, and I could catch the scent of rain and something metallic that made my skin crawl. "Things are not what they seem," he whispered, drawing me into a world I didn't understand but instinctively feared. The shadows danced across the floor, creeping closer to engulf me. My heart was a war drum, pounding loudly, thrumming in my ears. I wanted to slam the door, to retreat back into the safety of my memories. But curiosity anchored my feet. I had to know. Just as he began to speak again, the floor creaked behind me. I turned. My mother stood in the hallway, eyes wide, tears brimming. "Who is this?" she demanded, her voice laced with trepidation. The air thickened, filled with disbelief. I watched her, taking a step back into the dark of our home, the doubt and confusion tightening around us like a noose. The man turned to her, a small smile creeping on his lips. What was it about him that left me feeling both compelled and terrified? A silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. My mind raced. How could he possibly affect our lives? What had I just stumbled into? The door swung ajar, and with it, that one fateful knock left an imprint on my heart. How could a single moment change everything? Who was this man, and what truths lay buried in shadows? As the tension swelled, questions loomed heavy in the air. Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air remained taut with unspoken words, thick like fog wrapping around us. I felt the weight of life's uncertainty pressing upon my shoulders, pulling me away from the comforts of the past and into the harsh reality of this moment. My heart raced, an erratic beat as if it were desperately trying to escape the turmoil brewing within me. "Who are you?" My mother's voice trembled, carrying a mix of fear and defiance. Her frame appeared smaller in that moment, a fragile barrier against the man who had so easily shattered the fragile peace in our lives. "That I am an old friend of your husband," he replied smoothly, his gaze shifting back to me, as if I were the one who could unlock answers to questions only he could pose. "He's been looking for you, for both of you, really. There's so much you don't understand." "Stop!" I burst out, suddenly angry at this intrusion. at this man who spoke of my father as if he were a mere specter haunting our lives. I could almost feel my mother retreating further, an instinctive reaction to protect herself from the chaos this man radiated. My father is gone. There's nothing left to understand that he took a step forward, daring to invade the sacred space between us. But is he really? What if I told you he's closer than you think? That he left clues, a legacy of purpose? He didn't abandon you. You were never meant to be alone. Each word struck me like a cold wind, sweeping through the remnants of my hope. A flicker of confusion mingled with a deep-seated wish to unravel the truth. Yet I instinctively braced myself against the shifting ground beneath my feet. The memories of family dinners, warmth, and safety blinked out like stars in a darkened sky, replaced by this unsettling realization that maybe my father had left more than just void a mystery that had yet to be unraveled. My mother's breath caught. "What do you mean?" she asked, an ember of curiosity igniting behind her cautiousness. I turned to her, bewildered by the new expression dancing across her features. Was it dread or hope? The man seemed to sense the shift, a smirk creeping across his lips. He left a trail, little breadcrumbs that lead to who he really was, what he really did. Things are complicated, but you're meant to find out. And it's dangerous. That I felt the tension in the room thicken, wrapping around us like a shroud. The unyielding fear clashed against an emerging flicker of intrigue. Dangerous? I echoed, my voice softer yet taut with disbelief. Why should we trust you? You just showed up, claiming to know my father. Because he leaned closer, eyes narrowing as he spoke. I'm the only one who can help you find him. The words hung in the air, pregnant with possibility. I suddenly recalled the things my mother had always whispered to Meth, fleeting mentions of my father's past, of shadows that loomed beyond the picture-perfect existence we had forged in his absence. Perhaps there was more to him than I had ever realized. Just as I was about to respond, a loud crash echoed from the living room. My heart leaped into my throat. What now? My mother clenched my arm tightly, panic alighting in her eyes. Stay here, the man said, commanding a sudden authority that silenced all doubt. He turned on his heel and strode toward the noise. I wanted to protest, to follow, yet a primal instinct held me back. He was essentially a stranger, and yet he was able to easily break into our lives and disrupt our secrets. We were left alone in the doorway, my pulse racing as chaos unfolded beyond the threshold. My mother was shaking beside me, her eyes darting nervously. What if he's lying? It could be a trap, or worse, she whispered, glancing toward the noise, her composure cracking. I don't know, I admitted, my voice barely a whisper, but I feel like we need to know. If my father is out there, if there's anything real connecting us to him, we owe it to ourselves to find out. The sound of a scuffle erupted, accompanied by the sharp snap of a breaking object. We exchanged panicked glances as dread tethered us together. Suddenly, the man returned, his expression twisted into something fierce. My gaze darted to the doorway behind him, where a shadowy figure loomed just out of sight. We need to go now, he barked, urgency dripping from every syllable. They found us. What do you mean, who found us? My mother demanded, her fear mixing with confusion. But the man was already stepping back into the night, urgency pulsing through him like electricity. We don't have time. If we stay here, we put everything at risk. He reached for my arm, pulling me toward the door. I hesitated for a moment, unsure if the unknown held more danger than the familiar shadows of our home. But deep down, a lingering flame of possibility ignited in my heart. Perhaps this was the moment to unravel the legacy left behind, even if it meant stepping into darkness. As we rushed through the doorway, with each beat of my heart I felt the weight of choice hanging over us. This was no longer just about my father, it was a journey that bound us together, no matter the secrets or the dangers waiting just around the corner. And then, as if the universe was also holding its breath, the sound of footsteps echoed behind us, drawing nearer. My breath quickened, fear gripping me anew. Would we uncover the truth of my father, or would the shadows consume us whole? The night was nothing but a darkness saturated with uncertainty. Each hurried step echoed on the pavement as we fled, our breaths mingling in the chilly air. creating a rhythm that matched the thunderous beat in my chest. My mother was at my side, grasping my hand tightly, her warmth grounding me even as dread tangled around my thoughts. "Where are we going?" she panted, glancing anxiously over her shoulder as if the shadows themselves might reach out and ensnare us. "The car," the man urged, his eyes darting as if he could sense a lurking presence trailing us. "We need to get away from here before they realize we've left." His urgency was palpable, and although my instincts screamed for caution, I couldn't ignore an undeniable pull. This was my chance, the first real chance to learn about my father, the man I had spent countless nights wondering about, piecing together fragments of stories and whispers. We reached the parking lot, a patch of dim light illuminating the parked cars like forgotten memories. The man paused near a black sedan, fumbling with the keys as if he had been waiting for this precise moment. "In," he commanded, urgency radiating from him. My mother hesitated, searching my eyes for assurance, but I only felt the weight of my uncertainty pressing down. What if this is wrong? What if we're making a mistake? She looked so small, her vulnerability spilling out like a flood that threatened to drown us both. "Mom," my voice faltered as I realized the truth. "We might never get another chance. If there's even the slightest chance to find out what happened to Dad, we have to take it." I squeezed her hand, urging her to trust me, to trust this moment even when it felt precariously poised on the edge of chaos. Her breath hitched for a moment, but then she nodded, and together we climbed into the car. As we settled into the cramped space, the man hit the accelerator with a fierce roar. The tires squealed, propelling us into the chaos of the night, away from the life we had known, and deeper into the unknown. All I could hear was the rush of wind against the windows and the distant howl of a siren chasing shadows somewhere behind us. The man remained eerily silent, focused on the road ahead, his jaw clenched tight. I stole glances at him, trying to discern if he was guardian or predator. "What do you know about my father?" I finally demanded, my voice trembling with urgency stacked against fear. He leaned slightly toward me, his gaze steady on the road but his tone softer. "He was a guardian of sorts, a protector of secrets that could change everything. He didn't just vanish. He was forced to keep you safe." I looked at my mother, whose eyes glimmered in the dim light as a flicker of a long-forgotten spark ignited in her heart. "That's why he left breadcrumbs," she breathed, almost to herself, as if piecing together the fractured puzzle of her memories. But the man interrupted, "You have to understand that not everyone wants you to find this truth, especially the ones who've been searching for him." His voice fell heavy with a weight of solemn awareness, wrapping around us like an ominous shroud that I felt the air in the car shift. "Who's been searching for him?" I asked, fear sliding down my spine like ice. He met my gaze, the tension palpable, as though I had touched something raw. "People who believe he possesses something powerful, something that could change the course of this world." The revelation crashed over me like a tidal wave. I had thought I wanted answers, but what if those answers led to unforeseen dangers? What could he possibly have that was so important? The man opened his mouth to speak, but just then, his phone buzzed with urgency, shattering the moment. He swiped at it, eyes locking onto the screen with a mix of dread and fury. "We have to change course," he declared, spinning the wheel sharply as he veered onto a less-traveled road. "They're already on our trail," my mother gasped, and I felt reality slip further away, the world morphing into a sharp reality of threats and shadows. "You didn't say I would be in danger," she hissed, fear threading through her voice. "I didn't want to scare you, but at this point we can't afford to underestimate them." His determination was overshadowed by a flicker of fear as he glanced into the rearview mirror, the panic creeping back into his eyes. My heart raced as we plunged deeper into the unknown, conversations suspended among swirling emotions. Just then, the headlights of another vehicle sliced through the inky darkness behind us, illuminating what appeared to be a black SUV gaining speed. "Hold on," the man yelled, jerking the wheel to evade the pursuing vehicle. The violent motion jostled us within the confines of the car, my stomach leaping into my throat as we darted through the winding road. My heart pounded with panic and anticipation alike. Would this be the moment that forged a deeper connection to my father, or would it lead us into darkness? And then, the unthinkable happened. The SUV surged ahead, cutting us off and forcing us to a halt. Muffled voices reached us, distorted and confused, cutting through the lingering silence like a thunderclap. "Get out of the car, now!" A man shouted from the shadows. We sat frozen, fear cementing our bodies in place. I caught a glimpse of my mother, panic flooding her features as she instinctively sought comfort in my presence. But, just as quickly as we had turned to escape, it felt as if the universe had turned against us. The man reached into his jacket. "Stay down, both of you. Why are they doing this?" I whispered, gripping my mother's hand, feeling the tremors of uncertainty ripple through her. But before he could answer, the world erupted in chaos. The darkened figures rushed toward us, shadows morphing into agents of a fate I had never envisioned. The confrontation loomed, and as adrenaline surged through me, I realized this was the cliff from which there was no return. Whatever awaited us on the other side of this moment, we were destined to confront it together. As the figures circled our car, their faces obscured in the shadows, I could feel panic clawing at my throat. The man beside me gripped the steering wheel, fingers turning white from the pressure. The muffled shouts outside faded into a cacophony of fear and uncertainty. "Get out now!" the intruder commanded again, this time louder and more imposing, his silhouette stark against the headlights blazing from the SUV. My heart raced as I caught glimpses of dark clothing and menacing postures. My body reacted before my mind could catch up, instinctively urging me to shrink into the seat, to disappear. "Mom," my voice trembled, the fear pooling in my stomach, spreading like frost in midwinter. I could feel my mother's breath hitch as she clutched my hand tighter, her warmth grounding me against the chill creeping through the windows. "Don't move," the man beside us whispered, his gaze darting around as though assessing our slim chances for survival. His voice trembled ever so slightly, lending an unexpected fragility to his otherwise fearless demeanor. Suddenly, there was a crack, like lightning splitting the sky, followed by a shattering sound that sent anxiety pulsing through the car. A rock struck the window, splintering the glass, and my heart dropped. "They're going to pull us out," I gasped, pulling my legs to my chest instinctively, drowning in a wave of dread. "Breathe," the man said, his voice low but tangled with urgency. "I need you to listen to me. When I say run, you run. No matter what." "Run? Where?" I shot back, panic rising through my veins. A part of me wanted to scream, to fight back against the encroaching darkness, but another part wanted to curl up and simply disappear. The figure outside marched to the driver's side, his features now becoming clearer. His eyes were fierce, illuminated by the headlights. "You're outnumbered. This isn't a game. We want the package and we want it now." "Package?" I echoed, my voice hoarse and bewildered. What could they possibly mean? I felt my mother's body tense beside me, the layers of fear and memories dawning upon her all at once. She, too, was trying to invoke the instinct buried deep within: fight, flee, survive. But before the man had a chance to reply, the very ground we were based on quaked as another vehicle sped toward us, revealing an unexpected alien glimmer of hope as a car accelerated into view. "Shit." The man's expression shifted instantly from grim resolve to a flicker of cautious optimism. "Stay down," he commanded again, and in a blink, the sound of more voices echoed through the night. The new car screeched to a stop at an angle that blocked the menacing figures advancing toward us, and doors flung open. A group of 3 rushed out, just as fierce and determined as the men outside. "On my count, go," one of them shouted as they trained their weapons on our captors. The glint of metal in the night stark against the shadows, my heart raced. The thrill of sudden allies igniting a spark of hope even amid chaos. I didn't know who these people were, or what their motivations might be, but it was impossible to ignore the shift in the atmosphere as hostility pulled taut like a bowstring, waiting for release. "Now, run," the man beside me shouted, and without thinking, I lunged forward, wrenching the door open as I propelled myself into the dark night with my mother at my side. We collided with the gravel surfacing, the sharp edges biting into my knees as I scrambled to my feet. "Follow me." I instinctively grabbed my mother's hand and pulled her along, the sounds of confrontation erupting behind us house and the echoing sound of gunfire. My chest heaved as we dodged between the vehicles, the night filled with a cacophony of chaos that felt surreal and terrifying. We dashed into the brush at the edge of the parking lot, leaves snapping and branches clawing at us, but adrenaline coursed through my veins, urging me to keep moving. We could hear the fight escalating behind us, and I felt our new allies rallying against the threat, shadows rising to battle. Over here, a voice rang out, and I turned to see one of the figures beckoning us toward the relative safety of cover deeper in the woods. There was a flicker of relief, promising new safety with every step we took in the dense undergrowth. "Are you okay?" The man from the car had shifted gears, rushing to my side. His voice carried a firmness that enveloped me, and for the first time since the night had turned chaotic, I felt a peculiar sense of belonging. "We were fine," I stammered, my breath ragged as I helped my mother stumble onward, trying to navigate between fear and the abyss of the unknown. "Just keep moving until we reach the clearing," he called to us over increasingly distant chaos. But just then, as we ran, I turned back, an overwhelming instinct where the urge to know why we were being hunted took hold. The flashing lights silhouetted the scene, chaos erupting as ally and enemy clashed. I saw the men who had been pursuing us fall backward, and, in that moment of sick horror, I felt the world tilt. One of their figures lay still, a dark pool spreading beneath him, wrapping around him like a shadowy embrace. The realization struck me like a blow. Death had arrived at our doorstep, and it wasn't just my father's secrets that were entangled in this web of danger. It was the very essence of life and death that I now found myself stepping into. "Keep going," the man urged once more, snapping my attention back. I pressed my lips together, swallowing hard against the bitterness rising in my throat as I ran, knowing that this chase was only beginning. In the dark recesses of my mind, a terrible thought spun. What had we stumbled into, and what would it take to uncover the truth behind my father's disappearance? With every step I took, the stakes grew higher, and with the night still heavy with danger, I felt the irrevocable pull of fate enveloping us in its grasp. A murmur from the veiled shadows promising that answers lay ahead, but nothing would come without strife. The path forward was dark, uncertain, and teetering on the brink of destiny. The world around us dissolved into a blur, shadows blending with the towering trees as we sprinted deeper into the woods. My heart pounded, each beat a reminder of the dread lurking just beyond the flickering light of hope our newfound allies had ignited. The sound of chaos receded to a haunting echo while the night enveloped us, a suffocating garment of dark anxiety. "Where are we going?" My voice quivered in the stillness, woven with panic and uncertainty. My mother, panting, matched my pace but remained eerily silent. I could feel her tension, an invisible thread tugging at my heart. "Just a few more minutes, we need to reach the old cabin," said the man who had initially helped us. He led the way, moving swiftly despite the underbrush that clawed at him. His features were still masked in shadows, a stranger who had rushed into our lives and altered our fate. Another figure from our rescuers, tall and broad-shouldered, moved alongside us, keeping pace but radiating an aura of calm stillness. His eyes flickered briefly to mine, and I found a strange comfort in his unspoken reassurance. Perhaps, just perhaps, we would find shelter from the storm swirling around us. "Why did they want you?" he asked, and in that moment I couldn't decipher whether his question held curiosity or urgency. It felt invasive, as if he'd pried open the secrets that had become my life ever since my father's disappearance. I shook my head, tongue-tied. What could I say? That I was the daughter of a man who had lived in shadows, or that I had no idea what package they were referring to? "I don't know," I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper, the weight of uncertainty crushing down on me. "Don't think about it," he replied, an urgency creeping into his tone. "Focus on getting as far from the noise as possible." The trees opened up ahead, revealing a clearing that was bathed in silver moonlight. A rickety cabin loomed, its silhouette worn with the passage of time. My breath hitched as hope flickered anew. My mother stumbled behind me, her face pale and drawn, reflecting the turmoil within me. This is just a hideout, right? They can't find us here? I questioned. The weight of despair coiled tightly around my chest. The truth of the matter hung over us like storm clouds, echoing the unspeakable fears I dared not voice. We'll be safe for a moment, but we need to figure things out quickly, the broad-shouldered man reassured us. His eyes scanning the woods, ever vigilant as we reached the cabin's door. It creaked open before us, revealing a sparsely furnished interior. I stepped in first, the stale air rich with the scent of damp wood. With a heavy thud, my mother followed. The door slammed shut, sealing the night and whatever horror still lingered beyond. "Everyone, we need to barricade the door," our rescuer commanded, shutting out our anxieties while sounding strangely unflappable amidst the storm brewing in our lives. My heart raced with every movement we made, adrenaline coursing through me like wildfire. The others went about their tasks swiftly, gathering furniture and anything that might serve as a barrier. I turned to my mother, wanting to assure her that we were safe. But the haunted look in her eyes fractured my resolve. "Can you get some water?" she asked, her voice tremulous but filled with an unexpected conviction. "You'll need to think clearly." "Right, they'll be back." I nodded, eager to do something, anything, to keep her safe and steady. I navigated the narrow hallway toward a small kitchen, my mind racing with thoughts. What kind of package were they after? Was this all somehow connected to my father? The possibilities spiraled like wisps of smoke in my mind, teasing me with questions that tantalized and terrified. The sink screeched as I turned the faucet on, filling a chipped glass with lukewarm water. As I turned back, I glimpsed a reflection in the dusty mirror above the aging counter. A girl, terrified and lost, stared back, and for a moment, I couldn't recognize myself. "Shit!" A sudden crash echoed from the front of the cabin, jolting me. My heart leaped as I tossed the glass aside, its shattering resonating against the heavy silence like bells tolling for the dead. I rushed back into the main room just as the door buckled under pressure, splinters flying as the men who had chased us into the woods pressed their assault. "Hold it together," the tall man from before shouted, pulling my mother behind him as he stood guard. I could see the determination in his grip on the door frame, the strength in his stance. His eyes met mine for a brief heartbeat, a silent promise that we wouldn't be consumed by this chaos. A sudden, chilling realization struck me as I glanced at the shadows filling the doorframe. There were familiar faces among our pursuers. Faces I had seen before, lingering in the corners of my father's life. Figures that whispered of secrets yet unrevealed, now draped in the cloak of threats. "Run!" I yelled, an instinct fueled by desperation. I turned to my mother, the need to protect her igniting within me. But as I moved toward her, I felt a tug from the pasta memory flickered under the chaos. My father's warning about the dangers of our lives. "What do you know about the package?" The shadows sneered, their voices laced with an eerie familiarity. The chilling truth settled deep, prickling at the edges of my sanity. My world narrowed to the frantic breaths of those around me. In one split second, I understood that this was just the beginning of an endless spiral that had its roots tangled in my father's hidden truths. Whatever lay ahead would force me to face the very darkness he had kept at bay, and I would have to find the light to cut through it all. But for now, trapped in a cabin that seemed so far from safety, I wondered if I was strong enough to face whatever awaited us. The next moment loomed, pregnant with uncertainty, and I could feel the delicate threads of fate pulling taut, threatening to snap at any second. The crashing sounds from the door shook the very foundation of our fragile sanctuary. A feral urgency enveloped the cabin as the figures outside pressed harder, the creaking of wood sounding like the deliberations of the sinister intent that accompanied them. I knew we couldn't hide forever, yet my legs felt anchored to the ground, a mix of terror and determination running rampant through my veins. "Get back!" the broad-shouldered man barked, stepping in front of my mother. He was standing tall, eyes fierce and blazing like coals in the night, imbued with a fierce protectiveness that brought both comfort and fear. His confidence rolled through me, sparking something deep within, an ember of courage I didn't know I possessed. Behind him, I caught a glimpse of my mother's face, a mask of resilience that cracked under the weight of her worry. "Stay close to me," she urged, her voice planted firm amidst the chaos. I hurried to her side, our hands entwined, both a grounding anchor and a shared fear. Another lurch at the door sent a shiver down my spine, and I turned to the thickening shadows of our pursuers. Shadows it felt like layers of my past were creeping into my present, revealing connections I had yet to understand. Each face at the door seemed to carry echoes of my childhood, fragments of conversations, where whispers of danger entwined with the supernatural stories my father had spun to keep me entertained and terrified. "Tell me what you know," one of the assailants growled, his features dimly illuminated by the moonlight filtering through cracked windows. Something twisted in my gut as I recognized him. Victor. A name tattooed in shadows on the fringes of my father's dealings. I could hear the remnants of a warning echoing in my mind, but the details flitted just out of reach. "Please, don't hurt us." My voice quivered, rising involuntarily, as if I could shield my mother from the world barreling toward us with nothing more than a plea. "We don't have the package. We never silence." Victor cut me off, his words slicing through the air like a serrated blade. "You think you're safe? We know all about your father's secrets. He thought he could hide them from us, but they're too valuable to lose, and you will help us find it." A rush of nausea hit me, dizzying in its implications. "But it's gone," I shouted back, the weight of desperation coating my words. "He left it behind. He was trying to protect us. Then you're wasting your breath." With a sudden burst, the door gave in, splintering at the seam as several shadows burst through it like wolves into a den. Our sanctuary shattered before us, and in that moment, the feeling of vulnerability washed over me like a tidal wave. I stood there, frozen, as chaos erupted around us. The tall man roared, tackling one of the intruders while the second made a beeline for us. My instinct kicked in, and I yanked my mother to the side, the two of us just barely avoiding the oncoming surge. Keeping my grip tight, I turned, scanning for any chance of escape. "Follow me," I yelled, a forceful conviction rising amidst my terror, guiding my mother through the storm. The cabin that had seemed like a refuge now felt like a cage, and I was the one desperately trying to break free. We bolted to the back, where a window revealed the high branches of trees swaying gently in the night breeze. Hope flickered once more. Freedom was a breath away. The broad-shouldered man had managed to subdue one of our pursuers, leaving an opening for us to slip through. "Go. They'll hold them off," he shouted, his resolve palatable as his hand met the blade hidden in his coat. I hesitated. "We can't leave you. You have to." He met my eyes, and within them I saw a fierceness that filled me with fear and admiration. "You have to find the truth. Just go." The weight of his words settled in my heart as I glanced back at my mother. "We have to go," I urged, a plea mixed with determination. The shadows would not stop. They were closing in, multiplying like a dark fog that we scaled the window, squeezing through as I could hear the frantic scuffles of violence erupting just behind us. With one last glance, I caught a glimpse of him fighting valiantly, a lion against a pack of wolves. Landing hard on the damp earth, we rolled out of sight and into a dense thicket. My breath hitched, my heart slamming against my ribs as we huddled beneath the shroud of leaves. "We can't just leave him," I gasped, chest heaving. "Listen," my mother whispered urgently, pulling my gaze to hers. "We have to find the truth about your father. His secrets are what they want, and we may never get a chance to uncover them again." It was in that moment I felt something shift. A glimmer of realization unfurled deep within. The path ahead wasn't just about escape. It was about unraveling the mysteries that had bound my father to this darkness. With each heartbeat, I could feel the flicker of purpose igniting within me. But just as this passion took hold, a chilling howl pierced the night air, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps drawing near. Shadows danced closer, emboldened by their near success. "Run," my mother urged, and we plunged deeper into the night, losing ourselves among the trees as the moonlight flickered above us like a distant hope. Hurdles stretched out before us, filled with uncertainty, But I understood that this journey had only just begun. A tempest awaited, weaving its way through my past, and whispering promises of hidden truths that could either save or consume us. With each stride, I couldn't shake the incipient dread knitting itself into my thoughts. If I would have to confront the very darkness my father had once fought to shield me from, what cost would I have to pay to shed its shadows once and for all? As we stumbled deeper into the woods, the shadows felt alive, thrumming with a wild energy that echoed the turmoil in my heart. Each rustle of branches above seemed to whisper warnings, and the earth felt treacherous beneath my feet as fear gripped me in a vice. I was running not just to escape but to uncover a truth cloaked in years of secrets and profound heartache. Where do we go? I panted, my breath escaping in jagged gasps. The moon hovered above us like a watchful eye, but it illuminated nothing of the path ahead, merely casting erratic beams through the tangled branches. My mother's grip tightened around my wrist. There's a cave near the river, it's hidden enough. We can hide there. Her voice trembled, the strain of panic and exhaustion consuming her strength. Are you sure? I asked, glancing back over my shoulder. The last vestiges of our sanctuary were swallowed by the darkness, and I felt the weight of loss crashing down on me. It's the only option we have right now, she said, her determination echoing through the uncertainty. We continued to weave through the underbrush, the earth warm from the day's sun, but now haunted by the chill of our reality. As my heart raced, uncertainty gripped me tighter than fear. The tall man who had fought to protect us was a wild card, his fate intertwining with ours. Would we find him again? I pressed my lips together, unwilling to voice the question that only deepened the dread gnawing at me. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we reached the riverbanks. The moonlight danced upon the surface of the water, shimmering like silver threads against the obsidian backdrop. To the left, nestled between a cluster of trees, I spotted the mouth of the cave nestled precariously into the rocky outcrop. There, I urged, pulling my mother toward the shadows. Once we slipped inside, the damp coolness enveloped us, a stark contrast to the frigid air outside. The cave was deep and mysterious, damp rocks pressing against my back as we crouched. I turned to my mother, her eyes wide and haunted, fear etched on her features. We need to talk, I said, the words unspooling with urgency. We have to figure out what this means, why they came after us. She nodded slowly, the panic easing slightly as sense returned. Your father's secrets, they're not just about him. It's about us, our family. I tried to shield you from it, but it's tied to your past, your identity, she admitted, her voice trembling. What do you mean? Confusion swirled within me like a storm, pulling at the edges of the few childhood memories still intact. What did he do? I was running from something too. Your father thought he could protect us by leaving his old life behind, but he was implicated in something far darker. She paused, fear flickering across her face. Those men, Victor and his group, they believe you hold the key to unlocking it all. That I swallowed hard, a bitter tang rising in my throat. But I don't know anything. I'm just a kid. But you're not just a kid anymore. You were born into this, Alex. The stories your father told weren't just tales, they were shields. He wanted you to feel the wonder while hiding the monsters. There's more to your father than you realize, and the truth may just be lurking beneath the surface of your memory. Her words sent tremors through me. A lifetime of stories, both menacing and miraculous, twisting into something far more real. What do I have that they want? My voice barely rose above a whisper, fear and curiosity curling together in my chest. I think she hesitated, glancing toward the mouth of the cave as the distant sounds of chaos echoed through the trees. I think your father left something behind for you. A clue to understand everything. A sudden noise from outside sent both of our heads whipping toward the entrance. The scuffles had changed, the urgency of their movements morphing into something far more deliberate searching. Alex, we need to hide, my mother hissed, pushing me to find a nook in the damp cave walls. I obeyed, heart racing in a new crescendo of fear. As I pressed myself into the shadows, I could hear their harsh breaths and muttered commands. The sound of their hunting grew closer, a menacing reminder that we were still staving off the grip of darkness. Just as I held my breath, the rasp of fabric brushed against the cave entrance, the unmistakable silhouette of a figure silhouetted in the moonlight. It wasn't just the intruders, but someone or something much closer to home. Suddenly, a shout erupted from outside the cave, a name laced with recognition, and my heart dropped as Victor's voice carried through the night. "We know you're in there. Just come out." And this can all indeed. My breath hitched, and I felt the weight of the moment settle thickly against my chest. There would be no easy way out. No treaties to be made in search of the elusive truth. The echo of my father's past loomed larger than life, and as the darkness seemed to inch closer to swallow us whole, I felt its cold fingers brushing against my resolve. "Alex, whatever happens, you must find the truth," my mother whispered urgently, her voice trembling by my side. With that, we were left suspended in uncertainty, caught between the past and a future that threatened to crush us both. And then, in an instant, the weight of my choices solidified, and I knew that ultimately, I would have to confront the darkness that had haunted us both before it consumed us entirely. The stillness in the cave contrasted sharply with the muffled chaos outside. My heart pounded against my ribs, a wild, frantic rhythm that echoed the chaos within me. The shadows seemed to stretch longer, merging with the mystery, whispering secrets I wasn't ready to hear. I could barely make sense of my own confusion, the myriad of emotions convulsing within me while my thoughts whirled in a tumultuous dance. My mother shifted beside me, her gaze riveted on the cave entrance, each harsh whisper from outside claiming portions of her control. I could feel her struggle to remain composed for my sake, but the tremor in her voice exposed the fear that spilled over the edge of her carefully constructed facade. The weight of our reality, one built on years of deceit and half-truths, pressed hard against my consciousness. "Mom," I managed to utter, though my voice sounded foreign, twisted under the pressure of despair and uncertainty. "What if we never get out of here? What if they find us?" Her fingers curled tighter around mine, grounding me momentarily. "We will." Her eyes shone with unshed tears, her strength battling against the grief that threatened to spill over. "I promise we will find a way. You just have to trust me." As if the universe sought to test that trust, the chaos escalated outside. The clamor of boots pounding against the earth echoed louder, and my mind whirled with frantic images of our shattering lives. I found it hard to breathe under this sudden weight of hopelessness. The unknown felt like a beast lurking just beyond my perception, poised and ready to snatch away any glimmer of hope. Then, just as despair threatened to pull me completely under, there was movement in the shadows of the cave, a quiet flicker that captured my attention. It was a small creature, a bright-eyed fox, its fur gleaming and soft like the first rays of dawn. It stopped some feet away, its gaze locked on mine as if sensing our fear. "Look," I whispered, captivated. While the turmoil loomed just outside, here within this cramped space, a moment of unexpected kindness stirred my heart. The fox inched forward, testing the waters of our bubble, and when I dared to extend my hand, it stepped cautiously closer. Time stretched in that heartbeat, the world outside fading for just a moment, illustrating that even in the darkest corners, life persisted. "Not now, Alex." My mother's voice, a whisper of urgency, tore through the enchantment. But even as she warned me, a thin tendril of hope blossomed within me. Maybe there were paths hidden among the darkness, a way forward, inklings of light that hadn't been extinguished yet. Before I could fully engage with the creature, a forceful hand gripped the cave entrance, pushing it wider. My heart raced as the tension knotted painfully in my chest, fueling a river of dread that coursed through my veins. I abandoned the moment with the fox, its ethereal presence replaced by the stark reality hovering in that instant. "Alex," my mother gasped, pulling me closer as the silhouette of a man filled the entrance. "Victor. Do you really believe that running will save you?" His voice dripped with chilling calm, a hunter confident in his prey. "We only want the truth. Just come out." His words stung, striking me with cold steel, a reminder of the fragile balance between past and present. My instinct screamed to run deeper into the cave, yet the primal need to defend my mother anchored me in place. "What if the truth you want to uncover destroys us?" I challenged, my voice stronger than I felt, rippling with defiance. Victor stepped fully into the cave, the moonlight catching the edge of his features, distorting the rest in shadow. That's a price you'll have to weigh. He paused, his gaze piercing as he regarded us. But know this, you cannot hide from what is coming. There are forces at play beyond your understanding. As the tension thickened, I felt a change in the air, something stirring behind me. The fox, emboldened by the moment, darted closer to my mother's feet. And then, as if responding to a silent command, it turned and dashed back towards the mouth of the cave. At that instant, I realized it wasn't just a beast, it was a protector, a beacon, perhaps even a guide. See that? I whispered urgently to my mother. It's showing us something. Victor's eyes narrowed, irritation flickering across his features. Enough games. Before I could grasp what to do next, a raucous noise erupted near the riverbank. Men's voices raised alarms. The search party was drawing closer, and Victor stood grounded, still a formidable wall ready to intercept our escape. Mom, I breathed, panic flashing in my eyes. We can't let them find us here. Every fiber of my being urged us to flee, to dash into the embrace of the forest, to find solace in the chaos and warmth within the night. But as I looked to my mother for reassurance, I found only the reflection of my own turmoil mirrored back. In that fraught moment, everything I had known began to unravel into a seismic shift, a tremor that shattered any semblance of security I had clung to. If the truth lay just beyond the shadows, what would it demand from us to grasp it? And then before I could fully comprehend, Victor stretched out a hand, summoning the darkness within him, and a cold chill crept into my bones, freezing time in that instant. You have a choice to make, Alex. Step forward and seek your father's truth, or step back into the shadows of ignorance. But know that one path comes with a sacrifice. And as his words hung ominously in the air, the line separating light and darkness wavered perilously before me, tipping the very scales of my existence into uncharted territory. The question remained: what truth, what sacrifice would change everything I held dear in a mere heartbeat? The moments stretched on, each heartbeat echoing like the tolling of a distant bell, marking the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. My lungs burned with the weight of knowledge, every exhale warmed by the fear I dared not speak but felt carved into my bones. With Victor standing there, a dark promise looming in his chilling gaze, I grappled with a truth I knew was destined to shatter everything around us. Mom, I whispered, as if saying her name alone could anchor us both against the surreal tide of chaos crashing at our threshold. What do we do? The uncertainty loomed heavy between us, an unspoken agreement hanging like a thread, ready to snap. She turned her gaze from Victor to me, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears and a love that dared to defy the shadows creeping closer. You have to trust your instincts, Alex. We will figure this out together. Victor shifted, impatience flickering beneath his cool facade. Time is not on your side. And yet, just as the room spun with escalating tension, the haunting call of the fox tugged at my heartstrings, urging me to look toward the darkness from which it had emerged. Sensing something deeper, I clung to a glimmer of understanding. The world wasn't entirely filled with darkness. There was something inherently beautiful about the way paths intertwined, and it urged me forward. Victor, I said boldly, my voice stronger now, pulsing with unspent energy. What is it you want? What truth are you chasing? His smile was unnerving, devoid of warmth. The truth can't be chased, Alex. It must be revealed, layer by layer. Everything you know, everything you believe is built upon secrets. Your father had a darkness about him. Are you prepared to uncover it? My thoughts spiraled, reeled with the implications. The father I barely remembered. The man who had vanished into mere words and stories swirled together with the weight of unknown secrets. Did I even want to dig through the rubble of his legacy? What if the truth buried there was as treacherous as the darkness surrounding us? Before I could reply, another gust of sound outside intensified, a chorus of desperate voices mixed with rustling footsteps. The search party was closing in, their proximity a reminder of the fragile grasp we had on our freedom. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I turned my attention back to my mother. We have to leave, now. But just as I felt the urgency coiling, the fox appeared again, darting back towards the encroaching darkness. It paused, a fleeting shadow against the moonlight, and then turned, looking back at us as if to beckon us to follow. "Mom, look," I pointed. "The fox, it's trying to guide us." Victor's irritation mounted. "Don't be a fool, Alex. That animal can't protect you." A rush of determination surged through me as I watched the fox. Though fear gripped me, it also sparked a flicker of hope. "Let's trust it," I implored, my voice steady. I took my mother's hand, feeling her warmth pulse through our connection, drawing strength as we stepped deeper into the shadows. "Please," I whispered under my breath, "show us the way." In that moment, I felt an invisible thread woven through time and fate, binding us to the luminous creature that dared to defy the encroaching darkness. And then, just as I began to believe we could escape the unsettling hands of the night, Victor surged forward, his frame blocking the expanse of the cave entrance, sealing off our path. "You think you can flee from your destiny? It doesn't work that way." The world narrowed, constricted by the walls of fear that threatened to close in around us. Defiance surged inside me. I felt the fire of rebellion ignite in the pit of my stomach. "No, you won't stop us." With every ounce of courage thickening the air, I took a tentative step forward, my heart pounding not just for survival, but for the realization that we were stronger than Victor's illusions. "Alex, don't." My mother clutched my arm, panic dancing in her eyes. But I had already taken a leap, stepping away from the comfort of shadows and choosing the flickers of uncertain light that shone like distant stars. The fox, a gentle but relentless spirit, led the way until suddenly, a flood of memories crashed over me, a haunting image of my father smiling, laughing, the faint flash of warmth before the stolid shadows swallowed him whole. Inwardly gasping, I gasped, my heart racing. The pain of betrayal, the fear of truth, I felt it threading through me like the fabric of fate itself. We had to find a way through, find meaning in the chaos, even if it led us deeper into the unknown. Victor was still there, a specter of deception poised to unleash his darkness, but I pushed past the fear suffocating me. "I won't let you dictate our fate." And then the ground trembled, a powerful rumble from deep within the earth, sending shockwaves through the cave, shaking the very foundation of my existence. The fox darted ahead, urging us forward as the walls quaked and the dim light flickered like a dying ember. "Follow me," I cried, pulling my mother along as the urgency of the moment eclipsed everything else. But just as we broke into the fresh air outside the cave, bright moonlight washing over us, a distant figure surged into view, a woman standing between us and the freedom we sought. Her presence was magnetic, yet filled with ominous weight, and she called out with certainty, "You cannot flee from the truth, Alex. It will find you, no matter how far you are." You end. As I turned, caught between the specter of this new figure and the shimmering light, I was faced with a choice tethered to the very fate of our existence. And in that moment, the fragile lines separating hope from despair wavered precariously under the force of inevitability. What awaited us on the other side of the truth? Would it save us or consume us entirely? The air felt charged as I stood at the precipice of uncertainty, teetering between the unknown and the desire to uncover the truth about my father's shadows. The woman blocking our path radiated authority, and though her voice echoed with firmness, it also hinted at a burden she carried. I sensed an old connection, a depth of meaning threaded through her words. "You can't escape," she reiterated, each syllable shrouded in urgency. "You hold the key to what he left behind." My heart raced, a drumbeat of dread and determination. I squeezed my mother's hand, feeling the pulse of shared fear, but also of resilience. "What do you mean?" I found my voice, steady and unwavering, though I could barely contain the tempest swirling within, a storm of anger, sadness, and a desperate yearning for clarity. The woman lowered her gaze, as if searching through layers of time and history to find the right words. "I knew him, your father. He wasn't just a man in hiding. He was a guardian who fought against forces you can't begin to comprehend. He wanted to protect you." Her eyes flickered toward my mother, who remained resolute behind me, silently urging me to keep pushing for answers. "To shield you from the darkness. He created barriers, walls built of secrets, but now those walls have begun to crumble. What do you want from us?" My question hung heavy, drenched in desperation. As much as I longed for connection, every fiber of my being yearned to reject what felt like betrayal. Why had my entire life been constructed on a foundation of lies? Only this, she replied, stepping closer, her intensity piercing through the fog of suspicion. To help those who are lost find their way. The truth, no matter how dark, must come to light. But it's a truth that demands sacrifice. The weight of her words settled on my shoulders like boulders, and in that moment, I felt the breath of my past, coiling tightly around me, drawing forth every secret my father sought to bury. Sacrifice? My voice faltered. What would that mean for us? For me? The shadows thickened around us. My heart pounded with the realization that the cost of the truth might be too steep to pay. The truth could help you find him and understand why he left. It could change everything, allow you and your mother to reclaim the essence of who he was and your connection to him. But you have to be willing to face what lies ahead. The darkness seeks to bind you, to ensnare you into the very web of secrets he wanted you to evade. Her sincerity struck a chord within me, and as my surroundings blurred into an inky pool of chaos, I remembered all the stories my father had told, tales wrapped in wonder, but laced with caution. He didn't want us to live in fear, I whispered, a cascade of understanding washing over me. But how do we even begin to confront those shadows? If you seek the truth, it starts with a choice, one that could set you free, she urged. It will test the very fabric of your understanding, revealing bonds that seemed unbreakable. It may cause pain, but it may also grant you the closure you desperately need. Will you take the leap? As I searched her eyes, I saw shadows dancing within them, pain intertwined with hope. I turned to my mother, who looked as though she were wrestling with the surging flood of emotions threatening to consume us both. Mom? My voice trembled, the weight of the decision pressing heavily against my heart. I don't know what to do, she admitted, vulnerability washing over her like a tide. But I want to understand. I want to know the truth, even if it hurts. My pulse quickened at her words, and in that heartbeat, I felt the fabric of our lives shift around us. There was a singular path before me, one that could lead us away from the weight of uncertainty toward a battle against the demons that had haunted us for generations. We could either succumb to the shadows or rise against them, reforging the bonds that had once united us and finding the courage to confront what lay ahead. I took a hesitant step forward, my heart thundering. We want the truth, I declared, the conviction lighting a fire in my soul. We will fight for it, no matter the cost. The woman's expression shifted, a flicker of relief crossing her features. Very well, then I will guide you. There are places you must visit, people you must meet, and sacrifices you must embrace. Only then will you uncover the depths of who your father truly was. In that moment, an air of possibility surged to life, invigorating me with the strength I hadn't known I possessed. Perhaps the path ahead was treacherous and fraught with danger, but it was ours to walk, not just for ourselves but for the Father who had once fought to shield us from the darkness. As we prepared to step into the unknown, my heart slowed, its rhythm calming under the weight of acceptance. The cacophony of distant footsteps faded, replaced by the gentle rustle of leaves, a reminder that even in darkness, life persisted. Let's go, I whispered, fueled by resilience, hope lighting the way as we embraced the path before us. Together, we were no longer mere victims of circumstance. We were warriors poised to reclaim our truths, and with every step into the night, an unshakable warmth wrapped around us, the legacy of our family woven with voiceless hopes and dreams cascading into existence. I took a deep breath as I glanced back one last time, and as I did, I felt the weight of 1,000 shadows slip away, replaced by the shimmering promise of dawn. Lost momentarily in uncertainty, I could feel the exhilarating thrill of unearthing the reality that awaited us. The chance for redemption and the pursuit of finding not just my father, but my own voice woven through the tapestry of our shared legacy. The darkness wasn't here to claim us, but to challenge us. And in my heart, I whispered that perhaps the truth wouldn't just be uncovering secrets, it would become the very essence of our rebirth. In this battle against the fading darkness, we would rise anew, bound by the light of reconciliation, forever linked by love that could weather even the darkest storms. For him, I murmured softly, knowing that every heartbeat carried me closer to a future redefined. For us all.